One of the things I just wanted to reflect on was something that we've been experiencing with our churches is that Fit for Mission has helped bring all sorts of things out of the woodwork, helped us to be much more honest about where we're at as churches, to face up to some of the realities that we've sort of been burying our head in the sands about possibly. That might be financial realities, that might be the state of our buildings, it could be the struggles we have to focus on mission and not get too bogged down in maintenance. Now, none of those things, none of those issues really, or things that are diverting us from the four missional priorities are caused by Fit for Mission. They are the realities that are true in our churches, and actually Fit for Mission has helped us come together as a team of churches and to learn more about what our realities are and how we can then address those realities and shape them differently, that we may become much more fitter for mission. So sometimes I think people look at our churches in the deanery and say, oh good grief, what's going on there? Or you're having to close that, Fit for Mission's closing that. And I'm like, no, Fit for Mission isn't closing that, but Fit for Mission has helped us to look at what the reality is, lift our heads out the sand and go forward. And I think the going forward, because of Fit for Mission, is doing that together. And that is a real gift. So we can support one another, we've got to know one another more. And as clergy, we stand alongside each other with greater understanding. And that's true for our lay people as well.
It's felt in the past that things have been top down rather than ground up. And it felt with Fit for Mission that this was ground up. And it wasn't something we were being forced to do or told was good for us, but it was from research, and we've been part of moulding it and shaping it. What's been an absolute highlight has been having the people who are experts in their field that can come and give us wisdom, and that's gone beyond how, in some places, beyond what we'd expected, which has been helpful. I've worn out the phrase we're making the path by walking. I do believe that, you know, we can speculate and do our best guess and prepare, but until we're walking that path, we don't know. So in terms of what could be better, for me the thing is we've been able to talk about the things that haven't gone so well, or have felt a bit, you know, sort of scratchy, that haven't gone so well. And I think we've been able to look at that. I think with this, it hasn't felt like anybody's baby, it's felt like our baby, looking at the best way to parent it. And I know people are deeply committed to it as well, but it hasn't felt, it's been more of a shared ownership. And I think that's something that's difficult for other people to understand from the outside. People think that it is driven and that it's this and it's that. And I've had people tell me what it is. It just isn't like that. A lot of the time it's come back to, say, you know, the clergy leadership team, and we've been making the decisions and we've been saying, what might that look like? What should we do? I mean, again, I've had the privilege to be involved in the centre of it, you know, in the NAV team, in the clergy leadership team. So I've been able to see and be part of some of that sort of process, really. But it has been a process. It's not been a framework that's been inflicted on us.
What has been a real positive of Fit for Mission is starting to think about how we can work together as churches, working more closely with other clergy. We meet once a week, which was our decision because we felt that things, particularly at the beginning, things were moving really quickly, and decisions needed to be made quite kind of every week. So we felt that actually it was really important for us to be together. But also it's really important to build those relationships so that there's a real element of trust and knowing one another's patches and knowing kind of what's going on in each other's lives. And that's been a real joy, getting to know my colleagues. I was quite new to the deanery, so I didn't know them particularly well when we started. So it's been really lovely to have that time together. That's been a real positive. Also, just being able, so I serve on the navigation team, and being able to think kind of strategically and think about the bigger picture has really shown me that that's something that I'm quite good at, that I enjoy doing. Whereas day to day in parish, sometimes you can get lost in the detail of moment to moment, minute to minute decisions. Actually being able to be part of a team where you're very deliberately lifting your eyes and trying to look across a broader picture has been a real gift, that I don't think I would have had that experience certainly not for a number of years, probably in my career otherwise. So it's brought up something new that I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. I think things that could have been perhaps slightly different, done slightly better. There have been some quite difficult relationship issues amongst clergy, but also between churches. I'm quite fortunate in my congregation in that most of my congregation are pretty positive about it and fairly on board. But even within our group, there are some people who have real issues with it, and that's brought some real pastoral and difficulties and just made life quite difficult at times. And it's hard to feel that there is a lack of unity in an area of where you hope and pray that churches would work together. Feeling that actually there's a lack of unity there is a real painful thing. But I think in some ways time is helping with that. So the longer we've gone on, the more we've been able to work on those relationships and bring people back together as the sort of early pain has faded. I think the biggest learning of Fit for Mission for me is a lot of the strategic things, thinking about things much more broadly, learning how to put together portfolios where you have this gift of saying, actually, so I've just recently been involved in the toddler one, of sitting with people who are really passionate about ministry with under 5-year-olds and saying, right, in an ideal world, what would we want that to look like in 5 years across the whole of St Helens? And then sort of tracking it back and thinking, well, so if we want to get to that, what do we want to do now? And actually having the opportunity to do that is really good. Also having, we do these things called pyramid reviews, where we look at what ministry is like in a particular context, and we ask, well, what are the things that, if this is where we're aiming to get to, what are the things we could do in the next 12 months that would help us to be more like that? And actually that's a real gift, to have someone coming in from the outside, not to kind of audit you and check up on you, but just to help and ask those questions. It's not dependent on me all the time to do that, but actually an outside voice comes in and is like a proper critical friend, asking those questions, helping us to judge what we're doing and think about why we're doing it, and go back to the drawing board. That's a real gift, and that's been a bit of a highlight for me, and a real help in the first sort of 18 months.
I've come into this Fit for Mission process halfway through, but the thing that I've noticed most of all is the collegiality of the clergy. We meet weekly around the table, we discuss a book together, we learn from each other, we learn from our wonderful coach, and there's a lot of really good sharing. There's an openness with the clergy and even a vulnerability with each other that I think is really positive and just really healthy. I am learning so much myself, and I really look forward to coming to these meetings. I'm particularly impressed because the clergy that come have absolutely prioritised these meetings every week, and that just shows how important they are for themselves and also for one another.
I remember somebody wrote a book called Better Together, and in fact I think that's what I've seen most importantly from my brief involvement with All Saints in Christ Our Hope Parish. It's been amazing seeing how the clergy are working together, I think in a different way than ever I've seen in a chapter meeting. And that collaboration, that sort of unity of purpose and just working together, I think is a really important factor. And I think that's where my hope for how Fit for Mission is going to work out in the parishes will be. I'm only partly involved in this particular parish, but in another parish I've also been involved in through working with the church wardens. I've been amazed at how the sort of team concept, both within churches and within the larger parish, has been encouraging for people. It's been a new experience for many of them, and some of the church wardens I've worked with are really enthusiastic about what's going to be involved in the new way of working.
I am not in a Fit for Mission church at the moment. I was asked by the Fit for Mission team if I would head up the Right Buildings project, looking at all the buildings, which I have experienced in my previous work before I entered into ministry. I think it's been a really, really useful and rewarding exercise to be part of such great change. And I think taking something good that's happened through the process is the amount of prayer that we've been held in as a team, and that Fit for Mission has been held in generally. I think it's a step of faith. It's in fact a leap of faith for many, many people. And I think the goodness and the spirit has been in the prayer that we've been held in. What might have been better? Or it would have been better if? I think everyone had joined. I think there's pain in those that are not part of Fit for Mission, as well as pain in those that are part of Fit for Mission, but pain held jointly somehow feels less. It feels easier to hold pain together, I think. So I think pain is better held together. And I think a key learning that I've picked up is that this is really, really hard. And any church mustn't stand still. We cannot sit back and go, we're fine. We've got enough money. We've got enough people. That isn't really how it works.
My experience of Fit for Mission has been really positive. I felt welcomed. Even though I'm self-supporting, I feel part of the leadership team, feel included, and it's great that I've been able to go to other churches, work with various ministers, and it's seeing the different types of churchmanship. But I think what I've got out of it most is that feeling of being welcomed and part of the actual overall team.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're both ordained deacon in June, so it's early days, but right from the start we were made to feel part of this process, welcomed into meetings, getting a really good insight into what Fit for Mission is all about. So, and we just have the benefit of working alongside a group of clergy and learning all their different sort of skill sets. I particularly enjoy being part of the assemblies team and the opportunity that's given me to work alongside other people in the deanery going into schools to present assemblies.